it tarnishes the life that you live when, folks got to try to sell chicken dinners and all the rest to try to put you away. And I've
Yeah.
seen clients do it correctly, and I've seen clients do it incorrectly. I'll tell a story about a client who did it correctly. He was a plumber. He used to purchase vehicles from me. I opened my insurance agency. He came right along. We started insuring his vehicles, then started taking care of his life insurance, and we did some cash value life insurance. The long story short is he passed August of 24. I was actually out of town, and he called me on his deathbed to thank me. I'm kind of up tempo, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm getting ready to go ahead and make my transition, but I just wanted to tell you I appreciate you and I thank you." You know what I'm saying? And it was
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
the peace of mind of knowing that his wife was taken care of, his kids was taken care of. I mean, he was able to transition in peace.
Welcome to the Pattern Disruption Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Rhymes. Let's break some patterns and start the show. I got the one and only Greg Blackwell in the studio. He is a farmer's agent. I'm going to let him do his own introduction. What's up, Greg?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Thank you so much for having me.
Man, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a long time coming. So you have an agency.
Yes.
Where's your agency located at?
I have a farmers insurance agency. My agency is located in Southfield, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
We're on 10 Mile, 1 block west of Greenfield. And we've just celebrated 15 years being in business. Okay.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah. So a lot of milestones within there. I've done this thing with as many as 4 team members, as many as no team members. So it's been quite a ride throughout the process. We broke some records as it relates to sales and production and customer satisfaction and so forth. But and I'm a multi-service agency, so we service pretty much all lines of insurance. There won't be too many lines or coverages that the average person would have that we don't have, that we're not versed in.
Okay. And what were some of the challenges starting your own agency? Because prior to this, you worked for another agent.
No, I never worked for another insurance agency or office ever. Like my first time doing anything insurance wise, that's the best way to do it. Even as we coach and develop team members now, I got folks that I've coached and developed and helped them open up their own office, and that is the best way to do it because it really is a lot to it. But the first time I even done an insurance quote, I had at least an office and had my own office, and I never even did an insurance quote. Okay. Do I recommend that path? Not necessarily, but that's the path that I took. But I was really drawn upon at the time. I was, at that point, I opened this office when I was in my mid 30s. I know it still look like I'm 30 years old right now. I
Right.
thank you in advance for that. But I had at the time, I had a regular newsletter that I sent out to all my clients who purchased vehicles from me. At that point, most of my clients were repeat referral clients. And so I already kind of had a following of clientele.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just a matter of, can I take this clientele and can I take my customer service skills and translate that into successfully launching an insurance office. And the assumption was yes, but I wasn't 100% sure. But the long story short is I did it and I tried it. And at the time when I started to open up my office, I mean, it was a situation where I kind of like liquidated almost a lot of things that I had at that time to put down on first month payment, last month payment, and all the necessary things that was needed. I spent about a year just getting licensed and getting all those requirements knocked out. I interviewed all the different major carriers from all states, State Farm, Farmers, to really decide which one I thought was going to be a fit for me. Farmers has a long-standing reputation for having the best claim service and I thought that was something I can get behind, because
And
you
you
know,
and that's paying claims or okay, okay.
yeah, like years ago, there was an award by JD Power and Associates, and it went to farmers for having the best claim service. So when something bad happens, whether that's a fire, whether that's a car crash, that process and everything that happens after the fact, Farmers Insurance had an award for uh, doing the very best job at it. And I like the culture too, even as I was like interviewing some, and they were interviewing me, and I was interviewing them. I just like the, it was more of a casual culture
Right.
that Farmers had versus some of the other carriers. It seemed like it was a better fit for me. And so the long story short is, they gave me an opportunity to open up my own office from scratch. And I did that uh, January of 2010, and by about probably August of 2010, I was like their number two office in the district for new business production. And we just kind of been running ever since, you know.
Okay.
Yep.
So do you have any mentors, or did you have any mentors coming into the business, or literally you were just cold turkey? I'm doing this based on motivation, skill set, and God.
All of that, and I had zero. I didn't know anybody personally who was doing it or who've done it. I talked to some different State Farm agencies, or at the time, just to kind of. But long story short, no, I didn't know anybody who was doing it.
What's been the most rewarding part of running your own agency?
Uh, you know, I really didn't even notice till probably maybe and I guess I'll get probably a little personal, maybe. Yeah, I'll get a little personal with that. I really didn't even notice until I was in a situation where, I mean, I'm just used to working every day in, day in, day out, no matter what, just going. And there was a situation where I literally just lost focus of just working and day to day business and all the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I really did not even work for like 8 months.
Okay.
Okay. But insurance is a residual business.
Right.
Okay. So I was, for that 8 months, 9 months that I kind of just wasn't on top of my game, and so forth, everything just clicked right along, you
So
know.
it was passive. So it's still okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And that really, so by the time I got my head back into the game and got back focused, that really gave me an appreciation for what I do. Like, because again, I'm doing every day. I'm pushing, pretty much every day. Uh, and with very little time off, very little vacations,
Yeah.
that type of
We
stuff.
follow each other on Facebook, so I see you going. And we'll get to that because I just saw you flying a plane, man. So that's definitely interesting. The insurance that nobody wants to buy, but everybody needs, which is life insurance. I think people need, especially in our community, in underserved communities, we definitely need it. It is a tool that a lot of different communities have used to transfer wealth. You know, we don't like to talk about it, but at the end of the day will end, right?
I like that.
And
100%,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and that goes for all of us. So how do you how do you promote your products to people, knowing that people that's not something people want to talk about?
Yeah. So in short, it's something that naturally we don't want to talk about. We kind of move away from even thinking about pain and towards pleasure. And nobody wants to think about what inevitably will happen to all of us.
Yeah.
Is the day that we pass, right? So we just kind of put it off, and then so most people don't want to think about it, let alone take money out their check
Yeah.
to prepare for it, right? But you, it's really, you could, life insurance is probably maybe a hard term. Is really like more, you can call it love insurance. Do you love somebody? something.
Yeah.
What do you love? And once we kind of start talking about things that you love, well, how can we make sure that the things that you love carry on afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and so we kind of really, so it was really just a conversation and just having that conversation. And I typically, the majority of the time that I'm doing life insurance or somebody's getting life insurance from me, most of the time is we're taking care of some other insurance, their auto, their home, and then we look and say, well, geez, you just took out a mortgage. Who's going to pay that mortgage off if something happens to you?
Right.
And hey, let's go and talk about some life insurance. And so, and you'll be, man. I mean, there's some stories. There's certainly some stories I could tell you, but it's important, man. I mean, uh, I I'll run into folks. I had a guy's like, nah, I don't want a life insurance. I mean, like it's only this much a month. I mean, why would you not want some life insurance? I was like, you got insurance on your cell phone? Yeah, I got insurance on my cell phone. So you got insurance on your cell phone, but you won't put no insurance on yourself. And I think too, it goes beyond that too. Is really, even if you don't have any kids or dependents or whatever the case may be. I mean, just think about like it tarnishes the life that you live when folks got to try to sell chicken dinners and all the rest to try to put you away.
Yeah.
I mean, it really just takes away from it takes away from all of that.
Yeah.
And I've seen clients do it correctly, and I've seen clients do it incorrectly. I'd like to. I'll tell a story about a client who did it correctly. I got a really good client of mine. Uh, he was a plumber. He used to purchase vehicles from me. Uh, when I opened my insurance agency, he came right along. We started insuring his vehicles, uh, and we then started taking care of his life insurance. And we did some cash value life insurance. He fell on hard times where he couldn't do his trade. So he had some money built up in his life policy. He was able to utilize that money he's built up in his life policy to kind of got him through. And so he really appreciated that. And the long story short is he passed in 24, about I want to say August of 24. And I'm out. I was actually out of town, and he called me on his deathbed to thank me.
Wow.
He said, "Man, and even when he called me, and I'm just kind of, I'm kind of up tempo. Hey, what's going on?" And then he's kind of like, I'm like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Hey, man, I'm getting ready to go ahead and make my, transition, but I just wanted to tell you I appreciate you and I thank you." You know what I'm saying? And it was,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but the peace of mind.
Yeah. Now take your time, bro. I know when you spend a relationship with people that long. Yeah. Most definitely, bro.
Yeah. So the peace of mind of knowing that his wife was taken care of, his kids was taken care of. I mean, he was able to transition in peace.
Yeah.
Not scrambling, not oh no, what we gonna do about this, that, the third. You know what I'm saying?
Most of the time,
Um,
it's not the one that's dying who's scrambling, though. Too, it's the family who's trying to make. Yeah, if a lot of times you're on your deathbed or you're down, you know, you not the one that really has to worry so much. It's your family and the people you really love a lot of time, and that's when you.
yeah,
Yeah,
that and that's true. That's true. But think about yourself on your deathbed in that
yeah, yeah,
situation,
yeah.
though. Too. Think about how you feel,
Right. Yeah.
like in that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, you worry. I mean, that's a lot on you in that moment when you really should kind of just be,
Yeah.
spending your last time with your kids and spending your last amount of time with
Yeah. And
whatever.
you
And
got
just,
this guilt that you didn't. Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely.
yeah, man.
Because a lot of
Like
times, actually, it's late. It's kind of too late when you're already, uh, you got some terminal going on. It's kind of too late to go and get insurance then.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's too late.
yeah,
Yeah, you got to get it when you don't need it. if you need it, it's too late.
Right. Right.
I mean, if you need it, it's too late. So, and I've seen it done incorrectly too, where I've seen clients get the diagnosis and say, and all of a sudden, hey, well, can I get some life insurance now? No, you can't get any life insurance.
Yeah.
What can I do? And I mean, it doesn't work like that. I mean, and so I've seen it done correctly, and I try to build those type of situations time and time again, where it is done correctly.
Yeah.
And those times when it's not done correctly, we're talking about most times. I mean, and with no policy do we take food off of somebody's, you know, you don't have to like sacrifice much to make sure you're properly covered. I mean, you won't miss it. The average person, doesn't miss. If somebody's going to miss it and they really going to feel how much they're paying on life insurance, we probably need to ratchet it down.
Yeah.
So it should be something where you got it, but if you got to really sacrifice it, you can't go on vacation now because you got life insurance. We will readjust it. But I said all that to say that when you like, man, I couldn't, I'm thinking about how many times you spent money on things you shouldn't have at the club or on this bottle of whatever. And,
Yeah.
and like, man, I couldn't pay 20, 30, $40 to make sure my family was straight. You know what I'm saying?
I got a question from Latanya, from the real Tanya Clanton. She said, can you have different policies with different insurance companies? Because she thinks that she has two different ones.
Good question. That's a question that came up in my office today. The answer is yes. You can have 20 policies with 20 different, you can have as many as you like. And it doesn't work this like let's just say you had home insurance, but you had two home policies on one house. Then they're going to basically pro rata the loss. What does that mean? The two companies are going to split the loss or do a percentage of.
Right.
So you will not be double indemnified. What is double indemnified? I mean, you're not going to get double, right?
Right.
Even though you had two companies covering your home. Or same with car insurance. Well, somebody will say, who would ever have two car policies? It happens. There's situations where somebody has uh, a car in two people's names, and it's just I get a multi-policy savings because it's on my policy. This person got it on their policy too. Like, so it does happen where
Yeah.
there's two policies on one piece of metal, or two or three policies on one home, say for example. So as weird as it sounds, it actually does happen. And in those instances, you're not going to get the cost of two or three cars. You're still only going to be indemnified once. But in the case of life insurance, your beneficiaries will be double, triple, like quadruple indemnified, meaning they're going to pay, the life insurance is going to pay the face amount of that policy, irregardless of other policies that you have, unless you had a policy that stipulated differently, which I've yet to see.
So if, let's just say on your parents, I had a policy, my sister had a policy.
Yep.
Each policy would pay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And all right. Okay. So I hope that answers your question, Tanya.
Tanya, that was a good question too. And that's a question that often comes up.
So with so many online options available, why should
that.
somebody go through an agency instead?
Man, that is, I love the question. You set that question up just right. How about I give you a real world story first, right? That just happened. I'm talking about is actively going on right now. Okay. How should I'll start it this way. Okay. There is three different levels of communication and exchange. Face to face,
Right.
over the phone. Okay, that's two. Electronic with a text, email, and so forth. So in today's modern age, we can do business across all these different mediums, right? All right. But in the insurance is a contract based off of accuracy. Okay. So any levels of misrepresentation can void the coverage, right? Now, I said all that to say this. Uh, what do you think out of those three mediums, where does the most accurate information and understanding come from? Is that from a face-to-face conversation, a telephone conversation, or electronic messaging and email? Which one is going to be the most accurate?
Probably face to face.
Face to face, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Then the second, which one comes in number two? In terms of accuracy,
It would be the phone.
There you go, telephone. Yeah. And then the last but not least would be
online.
All right, online. So, and the numbers bear that out. Meaning, if I had, let's just say I had 10,000 policies, all of which were purchased online, versus 10,000 over the phone versus 10,000 face to face. Which bucket is going to have the most accurate information? It's going to be the face to face.
Right.
So Farmers has an award for having the best claim service. That's because as agents, we are diligent about making sure that on the front end of things, our clients' I's are dotted, T's is crossed. We got the right information. We're getting good information. I'm not writing policies that we're not going to pay a claim on, right? I don't do it, and I won't do it. Despite even if a client, I want to do it like this, I want to do it like that. Well, we're not doing it over here like that. So we're going to do it the right way. And so, but however, you have companies that'll say, click and save. They're going to lead you towards the online way of doing things, which leads to it. So now out of that bucket, that gives them the option to pick and choose which claims they'll pay, which one, because there's probably a good chance there's going to be some misrepresentations in there.
Yeah.
Now, look, if it's a fender bender, maybe you got you got a scrape on your bumper, they'll probably pay it. But let's just say it was a really bad day and you crash into a school building and 3 kids is hurt and the side of the building blew up and you did it online.
Yeah.
Right. Now I said all that to say this, and I'm not going to say the carrier. I'm not going to do it. But let's just say I got a client who basically, it was a combination of telephone, internet, all the rest, but they don't get an agent. You don't even there's no face-to-face, nothing. Everything is over the phone and so on and so forth. And his daughter was driving his car and was in a car crash and totaled it out. No big deal. I'm thinking, long story short, and this is not with me, by the way. They said, okay, we'll total out the vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
He owes 12 on it. They said, all right, your vehicle's worth 7. That's a big departure, but okay, right? They didn't offer him any gap coverage, but okay, neither here nor there. They're gonna go 7. But hey, you got a $2,500 deductible. Didn't even know, that's kind of a high deductible. But long story short, so now we're talking about $5,000. All right, well, it's $5,000, be it as it may, right? They then turn around and, as opposed to paying the $5,000, they're suing the client for misrepresentations and voiding the policy. And we're not talking about major departures. He utilized, he has a business, had the vehicle registered in his business name and the address to the business. And so that's kind of, as he was keying it in and so forth, that's what he put.
Yeah.
But he don't get an assistance of an agent. There's nobody putting him up on, on what to do. And now they say, you know what, we're just voiding the policy and we're not paying for nothing. Okay. And I had to translate the letter to him. I just met him. And I've heard, that's just one story. I've heard of many stories. Okay. Of similar situations where they just said, no, we're not paying it, and no, thank you, and we're going to sue you, or we're just going to void the policy. And
have you seen a significant rise in premiums due to like climate stuff? You see what happened over in California. Is that changing the landscape a little bit?
Absolutely. So you got California, you got North Carolina, or not North. Yeah, I believe it's Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina. I believe big water disaster and so forth. So uh, in short, and I can speak a little bit more. Like so, California. A lot of people may or may not know. So Farmers Insurance is we're headquartered in California.
Wow.
Okay. So we are to California, in my opinion, what General Motors is to Michigan. I mean, a huge. We've been in headquartered in California for over 100 years. So uh, in short, it does have an effect, but there is like things like what's called reassurance. So we basically would, if a loss gets, we write insurance, but then we'll purchase insurance on the insurance.
Right.
Okay. So, but then all that comes at a high cost. Um, I would say without um, so we're farmers have been prepared. It's $250 billion that is that the loss is estimated to be in California.
Yeah.
I would say for the clients in California who have farmers insurance, they're good. I mean, we'll take better care of them than any other carrier.
Okay.
We we got this big catastrophe van where it's literally able to go into areas that have been devastated with no internet, no, and it's like a mobile claim center on wheels. With, I mean, they'll be out there for sometimes 3-4 days with a grill, cooking food, settling claims,
Okay.
even in the
Yeah.
absence of
That's definitely
power.
good to know.
The loss is, I think, the rest of the country will see it. Um, California has been happening for a while. I mean, it's California.
Yeah. Every year.
Uh, every year. Uh, Unfortunately, that's a lot of it. They've been doing a poor job mitigating, that loss. I think that's going to change. But it's almost, I'll use an analogy. They've been advised time and time and time again for things that needs to be done in California to reduce the risk of what recently occurred. Uh, and I don't, I've had a chance to talk to some of the higher ups, even within farmers, and I had a chance. I met the our current active CEO of farmers, and California. The landscape has been something that the political landscape has been something that they've been trying to work on for the better to really make it safer for the residents. And there's really simple things that can be done. They've already turned the water on, so the water's starting to flow
Yeah.
through
Yeah. I see that.
California. That's a I mean, that's a good thing. But it's almost like if I went and looked at one of your houses, right, that you want to put insurance on, and you got a big tree that's just overhanging the house, like just sitting there. And I'm like, man, I would. All right, you're covered right now, but you got to cut that tree down. Then I come back 6 months later, that tree is
Yeah.
still right
Yeah.
there. You ever cut the tree down, right? And then hey man, this tree in my living room. Like you think,
Right.
like
Right.
like, and so California is that tree that's overhanging the whole place,
It's an
and
accident that's been waiting to happen for years. Let me ask you this. That's a good segue into commercial. What type of insurance should every landlord have? So,
mm,
you know, obviously structure, but liability, is there like a base liability or is that dependent on?
right. So it's really, man, it's really case by case. I would, if knowing what I know now, like I think that even before somebody goes out and buys a rental property, it may be a good idea to just consult with an insurance agent beforehand.
Yeah.
Um, there are different properties in different areas and different locations that have different programs that are available for it versus not. And it But the reason that may or may not be is because uh, the amount of crime, the amount of fires, the amount of hazards, and so forth. So there's situations where you could buy a rental property in this area versus that area, and you have access to far better insurance options in this area, especially as a landlord, than you would have in this particular area. That's something I would do. Number one.
Yeah, I never heard that.
No, man, I mean, like, yeah, it makes a difference, right? And I do have I'll have clients that'll call and say, "Hey, I'm looking at this particular property. Hey, I'm looking at this one. How does this one?" And it makes some of you want to know on the front end, because your access to insurance and your cost of insurance is going to make a difference. I mean, sometimes people self-insure. I mean, they say, "Oh, you know what? I I bought this home. I paid for it cash. I'm just gonna go at it by myself," and you have that option. But yeah, it makes a difference. Now,
But
as
when you
far as
start putting those tenants and stuff in there, that liability can, that can eat you up, with. And so I'm just saying, because I'm gonna go into moving some insurance around on my properties, and just trying to see, what's a level, because you don't know the
that's
risk.
right,
So I guess what I'm asking is, in your professional opinion, you know, if you're buying a house and you got a family that's renting, what would you say? Because it's kind of, you just never know. They gonna give you the options, but you
that,
can't say.
that's right, that's right. Well, one thing, number one, definitely gets for an investment property. You definitely want to have some insurance on an investment property. Number one, and it's something you want to kind of try to factor into your how much you're charging for rent.
Right.
So if and so that needs to be in that equation, um, and so forth. So uh, we literally do a customized thing per property. And what do I mean by that? So we'll literally take a client I got this property, I got tenants that is staying in there, and here's what I got. And so we'll just go in, run that, and see who's going to be the very best carrier to cover
Okay.
that property. Now, if that property is in Detroit, right now the best carrier in town for most of Detroit properties has been Michigan Basic Property Insurance Association.
Yeah, that's who I
Um,
have.
yeah. Now, that needs to come with a level of consultation. What do I mean by that? Okay, there's things that Michigan Basic covers, and there's things that Michigan Basic does not cover. So what we'll do is, number one, we'll cover the structure and cover the home and get as much of those good things that they cover at a very affordable cost. Okay, to the landlord. Uh, the reason that it's going to come at an affordable cost is because Michigan Basic uh, is a is a nonprofit insurer. And in fact, they're part of the every most all the states have them, but it's fair and affordable uh, access to insurance, or they call it a fair plan.
Yeah.
But they're designed to make insurance affordable, because in the absence of that, blight is a lot more
Right.
prevalent, right?
Yep.
So if you want to preserve the fabric of a community, you need to have insurance. And so the director of Michigan Basic is appointed by the governor. If there's any profits left over from collecting premiums, uh, running the company, paying claims, that amount of money gets spilled over to reducing the the cost of insurance next year and the following years. So they don't have a profit motive. With that being said, they're very good on zip codes that most carriers will run away from.
Right.
Okay, and so I then would take that, if that was that scenario, and we would Michigan Basic, but then there's going to be things that Michigan Basic does not cover, like liability issues. Somebody slips and falls, and they want to sue the person who owned the house. They just covering the property.
Yeah.
But I then have different carriers lined up for that'll just cover that liability scenario.
Okay.
Michigan Basic is not going to cover any level of water damage or flooding. for landlords. How so we'll have another carrier lined up to give flood options. And then another thing that I actually sandwich in is more on the property management side of things, and we had a conversation about this too. But I partnered with American Home Shield to offer their home warranties, and we offer them to landlords to help them property manage as well as homeowners to help them maintain their homes. And my clients, whether they're a landlord or they live in that home personally, if we look over a 2-year time period, you spend more money without this plan than you do with it. So basically, in a nutshell, take a landlord, it's going to give that landlord access to a licensed electrician when there's an electrical issue that needs to be addressed, a licensed plumber when there's a plumbing issue that needs to be addressed, heating and cooling technician when the furnace won't come on. If they own the appliances in the home, they'll send out somebody to fix the appliances. If they can't fix the appliance, we'll put a brand new one in there. If you're a landlord, I mean, do you really want to have to, deal with every single one of these issues, or would you want to have something already in place?
Right.
The plumbing, something going on with the plumbing.
Yeah, and then
Because
you just put it in the rent payment.
It's in the rent payment,
right.
Right, and then something's going on, and now it is 100. Right now, it's $125 whenever you need a service call, and so, and I have rental property myself. I use it as well as my clients. I got one client with 5 different rental properties that he's managing. It takes the burden off of the property management side of things, and it just allows more cost control, cost containment. There's there's not any big issues because managing a property, you know how that goes, man. You look up, boom, you need $2,000 because this just happened.
Right. Yeah.
Then everything is smooth. Now you need 1,000 because of this just happened.
Yeah.
And you got to scramble. Now you gotta versus when you got this home warranty or this landlord home warranty, that plan takes care of it. They'll leave us in a like when you got tenants that move out, 125. They'll go out, change all your locks for you. Okay, so that's one of the things that we're getting into as well to help out on the property management side of things. So literally we're kind of in some instances we'll literally take one rental property, say for example, and we're going to involve maybe 3 different insurance companies or to help manage the risk of that one property. So
Okay.
to make sure our clients' bases are covered.
Okay. So if you could go back and give yourself advice when you first started out, what would it be?
Man, I probably would have jumped into open up an insurance agency sooner, be frank. But if it just I I've been fortunate from a standpoint of always relatively, trying to be a good steward of my money and resources, and that just from selling cars, I seen what happened when when people didn't do that, and the lack of choices they had, and so I've been pretty good in that area, but I still try to get better and better and better best I can. Uh, what advice? I don't know, man. From like I just try to look. I try to apply life lessons on a move forward basis. If I could go back, I probably would open up insurance office sooner than I did. I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time
Now,
reflecting.
is that based on all finances, or what is that based on? Your lifestyle?
Yeah, I'd say both, really.
Okay.
I'd say both. I would have, because I really could have did this probably 5 years sooner than I did.
Right.
But I did not at that time. So I kind of drug my feet for 5 years before I jumped into an insurance agency.
Let me. No, I just want to add to this because I've taken the property and casualty test. I talked about it a few times. I've taken it. I've failed it twice.
Mhm.
I'm still going over my Yeah. So
It ain't no joke.
for you, how long did it take you to pass those initial tests? You seem like somebody that can retain information pretty well. But was it as because you have how many different licenses? Because you got
Yeah, probably licenses and accreditations and all the rest. Probably maybe at this point 8 or 9, something
right.
like that.
Yeah, and that's not as simple as it sounds. Trust me, I know. But you do only
Yeah,
have to do it one time. So and then you do continuing ed. But what I'm
that's right.
saying is like, was this how long did it take you on your first time around?
I was taking the first time I did it, uh I underestimated it because I was taking college classes at the same time.
Okay.
And you know how you can just cram for a test and
Yep.
pass it in college, if you will. And I just thought it was in line with that. And the long story short, I mean, I guess the pre-licensing, I figured it'll be a breeze, but I was still now I didn't jump. I didn't. How old was I at that time? I might have been 28 years, 27, 20. I forget how old
Yeah.
at that time. But you know, life was good at that point. I mean, I had a really good profession, single, you know what I'm saying? And so I was living life, you know.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I still was taking some college classes, and I just thought I was on par with that. And so the first time I took the property and casualty, I failed it. Uh, so just like you did. So fast forward, the next time I took it, I basically did this testing method, which is really is this. I kid you not, it's how I live my life. I kid you not. Is I didn't cram or nothing of the sort. I took the insurance licensing book, and I can grab it in my back office right now, and I just read it page for page, and I answered the questions at the end. Took the
Yeah.
then go to the next chapter, and go to the next chapter, and go to the next chapter. Finish all those chapters, and then start quizzing myself, and then go take the state test. So that's that's my study philosophy that has gotten me from property casualty, life accident and health, uh, to get the financial services certified professional designation. That was 2 years of study, and there was probably about 10 courses throughout. Same method. To get a Series 6 and 6.3, it's harder than the property and casualty piece because you literally have an exam material that's written by attorneys, and they're purposely,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you got to read these questions close. But the long story, so in short, there is no shortcuts.
No
I mean,
shortcuts.
you can't cram it
Yeah.
like you line by line. You know what I'm saying? Read it, know it. You just got to dedicate the time and have a consistent rhythm. Okay, I know 5 o'clock from 5 to 6. I'm doing I'm studying for this,
Yeah.
right? And I have never failed a test from that point forward. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? But you just got it. But there is no shortcuts. You can't. Ain't no shortcuts. And that's kind of how life is, really. There is
What
no.
kind of student were you?
I'm about a C plus.
Okay.
I'm a
Okay.
I'm not an A student or a B student. I mean, on a good day, I may get maybe low threes at best, C plus all day. You know what I'm saying?
So how can people find you, man? If they want insurance, how can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, man. So a few different ways. Hopefully, we'll link some stuff, right? But if you just from a Google browser, Greg Blackwell Agency, I'll pop right up. Or uh, my office is open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 a.m. 248-833-0070 is the phone number. My team members is not just myself. I got a couple of great team members that are, we haven't talked much about that, but our niche and our motto is we're all about providing a world-class experience as it relates to purchasing your insurance. And we have our clients, I tell our clients, hold us accountable if it's not what you consider to be a world class experience.
Well, yeah, man. Thank y'all for everybody that watched the podcast. I appreciate y'all. I know this was a long one. I'm gonna cut it down in post, But again, if you don't have any insurance, or if you need to, if you're in a situation where you want to raise your limits, or you had a different life change where you had a child and you want to add a child, get with Greg, and just do the right thing, because at the end of the day, you rather be prepared than not. Insurance is one of those things that can fall on the wayside, but you don't want to be one of those people who need it and don't have it. So it's definitely necessary. That's why I wanted to bring him on, so we can talk insurance and wealth, and I'll be bringing Greg back at some point. So I want y'all to have a good night. I appreciate you coming to spend this time with me. Until next time, keep disrupting. Peace.